This is the first time in my life that I've been called a novelist. I'm, in real life, a feminist science fiction scholar, and I write boring academic prose. So that's what I am, a scholar, and that's what you're going to get. So get comfortable. And the title of this story is The Purple Rose of Brooklyn, or Meeting Marshall McLuhan with a little help from Mayan apocalypse planet Nibiru. And the story was written to solve a problem. And the problem was I was very upset that I had never had the opportunity to meet Marshall McLuhan. And I said, well, what am I going to do about this? And I solved the problem in this story. And everything I'm going to tell you is true, simply because I'm a scholar and I don't have the talent to make up anything. So here it is. I think it all started when my mother described how much she enjoyed chatting with Eleanor Roosevelt while shopping in Arnold Constable. Her narrative about sitting directly behind the Duke and Duchess of Windsor on the opening night of Oklahoma also piqued my interest. My mother, secure in the knowledge that she was a Jewish American empress incarnate, she was beyond princess, had the supreme chutzpah to demand that the Duchess remove her over-the-top stage viewing blocking hat. Such is the origin of my love for interacting with famous personages and contemplating how people's paths cross. I had to wait until I was a graduate student in English at the University of Michigan before I could tell a celebrity interaction story which equaled the ones my mother told me. After hearing that Jorge Luis Borges was going to speak at Michigan State University, I hightailed it due north to Ypsilanti. I sat in the MSU theater and gasped when I saw an elderly, rotund figure with cane in hand enter stage left. I was seeing Borges. I couldn't believe it. As soon as his lecture ended, I searched for a telephone to apprise my mother about my Borgesian experience. Finding a phone and calling long distance from Michigan to Forest Hills, Queens in 1976 was easier said than done. The conversation went like this. Hello, it's me. You will never guess who I just saw. I saw Borges. Borges? What's a Borges? Borges. He is the most important figure in modern literature. He influenced everyone. He is the father of Pomo. This rendition of the conversation is not verbatim. Pomo was probably not then used to stand for postmodernism, but I am sure that I am relaying a tape recorder perfect version of the rest of the phone call. My mother said, Borges is a man. You are enraptured with Borges. Wonderful. Marry Borges. I can't marry Borges. Borges is 77. I'm 23. Borges is too old for me. Does Borges have a grandson? Having survived this question, I went on to pursue further graduate work at SUNY Buffalo, where I had the honor of studying with Leslie Fiedler. I never told my mother about how highly I regarded my chance personally to know Leslie. No one ever called him Professor Fiedler. Even though Leslie was old enough to be my father rather than my grandfather, and he was married to his second wife and had many my-age children, Leslie was Jewish. My mother never had the chance to hamper my graduate school career by appearing in Samuel Clemens Hall armed with a divorce lawyer and a rabbi named Marrying Sam. I am venturing into the Wayback Machine because my memories about Borges and Fiedler and enjoying an academic career marked by engaging with many famous authors and scholars are symptomatic of my related and present-day regret, a regret located in a galaxy far, far away from my mother's purview. She triumphed in her world. She invited her Julia Richmond High School classmate, Lauren Bacall, to my grandparents' Upper West Side apartment. Because she thought that he had talent, she told her friends to listen to a then unknown singer named Frank Sinatra. She received personal letters from Tyrone Power. I, in contrast, had never met Marshall McLuhan. I am absolutely determined to rectify the situation. Okay, I know that it's December 2012 and Marshall McLuhan has not been with us since 1980. I am not going to let this small detail stop me. I am, after all, my mother's daughter. Nothing ever stopped her. She had the audacity to say, "Look at all these women getting married. Why aren't you getting married?" When I was finally, at age 46, standing in front of a justice of the peace getting married in Queensborough Hall. This fact did not deter the woman who incessantly, since the moment I was born, told me to get married. She never adhered to the tenets of the reality community. Why should I? She was the person I could best turn to when contemplating how to thwart chronological reality and meet McLuhan. Positioning my closet as some Narnia-esque portal, I reached up to the highest shelf and retrieved the pile of letters Tyrone Power wrote to Miss Rosalind Diamond. With a slow and deliberate motion appropriate to a Ouija board, I ran her diamond wedding ring over Power's signature. Tyrone Power, how can I have the power to speak with Marshall McLuhan? I asked. And then, lo, the key to the power became diamond crystal clear. The academic real world could never provide the solution. I could not introduce myself to McLuhan at, say, a media ecology conference. Only a method which combined my mother's attention to movie stars with my career-long dedication to science fiction textual stars would provide the means for me to achieve my goal. It was time to merge the magic of Hollywood movies with fiction's unreality. I sat in my living room surrounded by a circle consisting of Rosie's 1960s movie magazines and 1930s movie star scrapbook and Marleen's science fiction novels and scholarly journals. Texts pertaining to, for example, science fiction notables the critic Darkle Suvin and the author Samuel Delany were uncharacteristically included with descriptions of Liz and Dick and Jeanette MacDonald and Nelson Eddy. Once upon a real time, my mother's hopes were dashed. After I let her know that Samuel Delany once said in public, "Marleen, I love you," I added that he is famously gay. Yeah. And so, ensconced within the Rosie Marleen special interest circle, I began to try to resurrect McLuhan. My version of resurrect is not too Goyisha. I am very blunt. Oi! Marshall McLuhan, would you please appear now, immediately, if not sooner? I chanted earnestly. Nothing happened. I threw in some magic words. The medium is the message, I fruitlessly shouted. Global Village didn't work either. Like a fairy tale protagonist, I tried hot media and cool media. Both of these terms failed to be just right. It was time to incorporate some heavy-duty textuality. I opened the July 2006 volume of the journal Socialism and Democracy and turned to my article called Science Fiction and the Cultural Logic of Early Postmodernism. I transformed what I had written about McLuhan into the following incantation. This is my scholarly writing. What would Marshall McLuhan say about the JetBlue passengers who, in September 2005, watched their circling and potentially crashing plane on their seatback television sets? McLuhan might say that the global village includes the stratosphere. Both airborne and earthbound viewers enjoyed equal access to the same cool media, cable-anchored dated field commentary, unquote. To make a long story short about a long quotation, citing my own words about McLuhan failed to cause him to materialize. Ditto for quoting McLuhan himself. I was, however, making progress. The young graduate student Marleen, who saw Borges, did not write post-pomo metafiction. Not so for moi, Marleen, who has just put her criticism into her fiction. Don't ask me to explain this point. This is a story, not a critical article. Oi, I'm having enough trouble trying to talk to McLuhan. Don't even think about requiring me to analyze this story. Forget about it. It was time to pack in the Ouija board approach and go back to the drawing board. As I was reverently putting Razi's movie memorabilia back on their closet shelf location, I began to think about the implications of having a mother who incessantly behaved like a Woody Allen film protagonist. And then it hit me. Allen could provide the means for me to schmooze with McLuhan. When teaching Introduction to Media Theory, I always show my students the clip of McLuhan's cameo appearance in Annie Hall. Every time I play the clip, I wish that I could enter the movie and engage with McLuhan. Woody Allen, in The Purple Rose of Cairo, pictured a version of my wish coming true. He portrays a movie character, Tom Baxter, jumping out of the film frame to interact with a real-world person named Cecilia. If Cecilia can talk to filmic Tom, then why can't Marleen talk to filmic Marshall? All I had to do was to figure out a way to inveigle myself within the Annie Hall film. How? Well, I could channel my inner Barbra Streisand starring in Yentl. I thought about forcefully presenting myself as a male rabbi via donning a black hat and a long black coat and taping payasses to my head. This disguise would enable me to hide out in the Annie Hall Midwestern Goyim dinner-eating family closely encountering a New York Jew scene. I had to reject that tactic. McLuhan did not appear in the dinner scene. I could possibly get lost forever in a 1997 Allen film. And then I would never get married. If I had to find a way to enter Annie Hall, talk to McLuhan immediately, and get out fast, I had to consult an expert. I had to ask Tom Baxter. Deciding that I needed to pick an auspicious day to attempt to pose my question to Baxter, that is, it is logical for a baby boomer to go into when the moon is in the 7th house and Jupiter aligns with Mars mode, I decided to make my attempt on 12/21/2012. I ordered Purple Rose from Netflix. When the film arrived, I loaded it into my giant flat-screen television's DVD player. I just had to tell Marshall about Netflix and giant screen televisions. I pushed the play button. I looked directly at Baxter on the screen and earnestly stated my request. Hello, Mr. Baxter. I would like to ask you a question. Would you please come out? And there he was, standing in my living room. It was a miracle. You don't believe me? Well, I stated my request on Hanukkah. McLuhan would say that television screen electric light is a technologically advanced version of oil lamp light. If an oil lamp light miracle happened once upon a time, it is perfectly sensible that a television screen light miracle could happen now. Adhering to what Coleridge called the willing suspension of disbelief, or in McLuhan's words, quote, alter your sense ratios or patterns of perception steadily and without any resistance, unquote. Resistance is futile. The medium is the message. Sensing that time could be of the essence, I immediately explained my objective to Baxter. I want to go inside Annie Hall so that I can speak to Marshall McLuhan. You are quite adroit at moving out of a Woody Allen movie. Please tell me what I should do, I said, while hoping that he would not ask me to secure a broom, follow a yellow brick road, or deal with a tornado. I had had enough service coping with traversing blackout streets and cleaning up after Hurricane Sandy. First, he said, you must identify your own version of the Purple Rose of Cairo. But I'm a native New Yorker. I don't know anything about botany. My only experience of Egypt is the you shouldn't know from it slavery depicted in the Haggadah. Think. Make a purple rose of your own. you can substitute any location for Cairo. Well, Rose Modell is the only Rose I know. She was my paternal grandmother's cousin, and she was married to Henry Modell, the CEO of Modell's sporting goods stores. I will never forget Rose and Henry. When I was 9, my mother introduced me to them because she wanted me eventually to marry one of their grandsons. This is true. I know that you are neither female nor human nor Jewish, but can you imagine what it was like to have a Jewish mother who was meshugana about arranging me to marry a rich Jewish husband to the extent that she wanted to sell me to a Modell mogul? No, I really do not understand. But what matters is that Rose Modell is very important to you. Just figure out how to make her purple and locate her where you wish. I opened my parents' wedding album and removed the picture of Rose and Henry toasting my newly married parents at their 1949 St. Moritz Hotel wedding reception. I Xeroxed the picture using my computer scanner and with a marking pen in hand, painted Rose's entire face purple. Here is my purple Rose. She lived in Sheepshead Bay. Would the purple Rose of Brooklyn work? Absolutely. So what do I do now? Wait for the auspicious day, watch Annie Hall. Stop the film on the McLuhan scene. Think lovely McLuhan-esque scholarly thoughts. Wave your purple Rose of Brooklyn picture. Hope for the best. Jump in. This idea will definitely not fly. What about the television glass? I can't jump through the glass. If the shards don't kill me, my husband will for breaking the television. And he's in here now, and if I identify him, he will kill me. I can't do a Cinderella fairy tale mirror on the wall thing. It won't apply to me. Cinderella was a shiksa. All I can tell you is that you must do all that you can to make the experience your own. I have nothing else to say. Goodbye, Marleen. It was nice to meet you. I waited for December 21st, 2012, the day the world was supposed to end via Planet X Nerubo-generated Mayan apocalypse. Well, in case the apocalypse was not apocryphal, I had nothing to lose. But as a science fiction scholar who did not believe that Planet X Nerubu would do Earth in, I had to take every precaution to mitigate against death by glass shard. So I turned to Neil Gabler's book, Life the Movie, How Entertainment Conquered Reality. Gabler uses the term behind the glass to describe the space located inside television screens. I had to conquer reality to venture there. His book was tailor-made for my situation. Media theory could not fail me in my quest to meet McLuhan. Clutching both my purple Rose of Brooklyn picture and Life the Movie, I held my breath, prayed to Planet X Nerubu, even though praying is to a potential Mayan apocalypse. Now planet is not Jewish. I needed all the help I could get, and hurled myself against the television glass. I did not think that I was in 2012 New York anymore, because there he was. I was face to face with a tall, stately figure with thinning hair, wearing a light-colored sports jacket. Professor McLuhan, I love your work. I have always regretted never having met you. But as a pioneering feminist science fiction scholar, I like to think that I have spent my life walking along the groundbreaking academic trail you blazed. I met your University of Toronto colleague, Clark Kent, at a media ecology conference held at Fordham University. He described the warring factions in the Toronto English department and said that your professional enemies gave you service from hell, but in the end, you triumphed. You make me feel that despite all professional torpedoes, it is necessary to remain true to one's scholarly beliefs and forge full speed ahead. Thank you, Professor McLuhan. Thank you for the earth-shattering original scholarly ideas you gave to the world. Thank you. Thank you from my heart for serving as a role model to me. And last but not least, I must tell you about the present world's giant flat-screen televisions and Netflix and cell phones the communicators Captain Kirk routinely used are pervasive. I love how you said that we, quote, live in science fiction, unquote. You were so right. You were right about everything. Thank you. You are most welcome. It was a pleasure to meet you, Marleen, said McLuhan, as he disappeared within a puff of smoke. I opened my window to dissipate the smoke. I saw a giant bleached blonde female head encompassing the entire top of the Empire State Building. I had somehow entered another Woody Allen movie. One's not enough, I love overkill. New York Stories, Marleen version. The giant Jewish mother's all-encompassing head belonged to Rosie. I had to tell her my latest news. I just met McLuhan, I said to my mother. McLuhan? What's a McLuhan? No, I'm not going there. McLuhan is dead. You're dead. If you tell me to marry McLuhan, I will die. It is not necessary for you to marry McLuhan. You are already successfully married. Okay, your husband, he's not Jewish. But since you got married at 46, I had to look away. Mazel tov. I'm happy with you. Rosie was happy with me at long last. I fainted from the shock. I woke up in my living room and saw my husband watching our perfectly intact television. Why are there these small pieces of glass in front of the television, he asks. And why are you schwitzing? Even though I taught you some Yiddish, you will never comprehend how the glass shards got in here. Since the world is supposed to end today, perhaps there is something askew in the space-time continuum. In other words, you shouldn't know from it. Or just chalk up to what we will always remain unknowable to you, what you call a Jewish thing. Just think that the glass relates to an ancient Jewish ritual involving breaking a glass at weddings. My husband, ever ready to tune out all that is Jewish, and he's probably tuning me out now, I think he is, calmly directed his attention back to his television program. In the manner of the Twilight Zone closing verbiage, control of the television set returned to normal. Frank Sinatra, sans any media technology, began to sing New York, New York. Rosie was kibitzing with Frank and Tyrone and Jorge Luis and Marshall. Why did I hear my own personal live Sinatra conference on December 21st, 2012? I repeat, Rosie was one of the first people to notice and acknowledge Frank's talent. She did it her way. He owed her one. Thank you. I want to say that, of course, I did not meet Marshall McLuhan, but I met Lance Strait, and this story is dedicated to him because he asked me to write it, and without him, it wouldn't exist. And Lance taught me how to be a media ecologist, and Lance made me a fiction writer because he's responsible for publishing my second novel. So, thank you, Lance.